Hey guys, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at this fixed blade knife by SanRenMu. This is the S758 full tang fixed blade. G10 handle scales come in this desert sand color or black. And of course, it's got a sheath that it lives in. So if you're interested in a fixed blade, or you just like knowing more about SanRenMu knives, and they've come up with a number of these full-size fixed blades starting at about the middle of 2018, and I'm sure they're going to have more designs coming out in 2019. And yeah, I like them, I'm interested in them, and that's why I'm reviewing it. Coming to you right now. Okay, so here's the knife we're reviewing. What's this doing here? Well, I've got this knife here. I reviewed it a while ago. This is the S721, and it's also a full tang knife by SanRenMu. And you know, if you like this knife, go ahead and get yourself one. But the main reason I'm looking at this is because of the sheath. The main difference we have here is today's knife comes with this plastic sheath. Some websites say it's Kydex. It's not Kydex. This is plastic. It's probably an ABS plastic. And then you've got this leather strap here for your belt loop, and another leather strap with a snap on it. Whereas some of the other previous sheaths that some SanRenMu knives have also have a plastic sheath, and you know, it's got a friction retention, a little bit of a clickiness to it, and that holds it very well. This guy doesn't quite have a click to it. You get that snap off, but you can hear a little bit of it, and it does hold it quite tight. It doesn't come falling out. You know, hold it upside down, shake it. It doesn't come out easily. You know, I haven't had it come out, but yeah, I had to pull pretty hard to do that. But you know, it's got a totally different design. This knife has got this belt loop that, you know, you can put at any of one of 9 angles. So you can wear the knife horizontally or whatever way. It does stand off a bit, and I did talk about that in previous videos. So this knife doesn't have that, so it sits closer to the body, and it's got a leather belt. Now the one con about this is I wish they would have put this on somehow with some kind of screw that would be removable, because I would like this as a neck knife. It might be a little big for some people to use as a neck knife, but I'm a big guy, and I would like to be able to, you know, take this section off and then, you know, put some paracord through here and wear it as a neck knife. I think that would be quite cool. But what I do like about this a whole lot more than this is where it would sit on your belt. I'll show you a little bit of video in just a few seconds of where this sits on my hip. And, you know, it sits down lower because my belt is right there. So if I line these up with where the hole is here in the loop, you know, this sits much lower down the body than this is. Imagine my hips here and my legs are down there, and I'm standing up that way. This is much higher on the hip. You go to grab it, you're having to pull your arm up higher before you get to pulling the knife out. This is much more comfortable than this is. But there's an awful lot of really good things about this knife as well. So if you're looking for this knife, I'll have links for this down below as well. And links to the video review if you want to watch that. And here's how it looks when it's on your belt. It's got a snap here. You pull the knife out, use the knife, and when you're done, you put it back. That easy. So that's the sheath for this. And so I like this sheath. I like how much retention the sheath itself has. There is a little bit of a, let's see if I can get it focused in here. If I can get some light in there. It's a little bit hard to get some light in there, but you can see that little bit of a shiny spot just inside there. That's because it's a small raised piece of plastic, and they have it on both sides. And that little raised piece of plastic is what causes it to hold right in this little hole on either side. And that's why you can see a little bit of black on the G10 here. So you can see a little bit of black right there and a little bit of black right there. That's plastic residue, and that's from that tiny little spot there. So I suspect over time it might not hold as snugly as it does now, but that's the retention mechanism. Those little bumps sit in the little bit of a hole that's on the that part of the handle right there. So good retention. I like that. And then you've got this snap up here so that when you are wearing this thing outside, you know, that holds on very well. It's not coming out of your pocket. Out of your sheath. And, you know, if you can get it started to pull out, now this loop is smaller than this section of the knife, and that's as far as it goes. So it's a quite safe way to carry a knife, and I like the sheath quite a bit. So let's put that aside and talk about just the knife now. What do we have? Well, we've got a chance to zoom in now because we've got less on the table. So let's talk about the specs of what we have. 8CR13 MOV steel, and again, some websites say it's 8CR14, but it says 13 on the blade itself. And that's got a Rockwell of about 57 to 58. It's, you know, a satin blade. There's some lines here from where they were sanding it and polishing it up a little bit. There's a nice swedge up here. I'm calling it a saber grind because it is a flat grind, but it doesn't come all the way to the edge, so it's not a full flat grind. Nice little drop point here, a swedge up here, a thumb raise area here, thumb riser with jimping on it. And that jimping is aggressive enough to make a really good grip in hand. So holding this knife is very comfortable in just about any way. My hands are just between large and extra large, and my wedding band keeps turning the wrong way around. There we go. And, you know, it feels really good in hand. Reverse grip with the blade forward isn't the most comfortable because of this round edge, but a reverse grip with the blade towards yourself, which sometimes you do on some pulling cuts. You got a lot of power when you're pulling that way. That's very comfortable in hand because of the way that's sitting. Pinch grip up here, that's comfortable. You know, just your regular saber grip, very comfortable. Fist grip, comfortable. You know, just a lot of ways to hold this knife that are quite good. And it's done because they put little milled lines instead of making this all smooth, and that gives you a little bit extra grip and retention. Same thing right here. Instead of just chamfering this side, they've got little ridges. There you go. So there you can see those ridges a little bit as I turn the knife back and forth. Makes it very, very comfortable in hand. And then you've also got these little lines going across in the G10 here. And that's not just for style, that actually also helps give you a little bit of extra grip on the handle of the knife. So it's a little bit smaller of a handle. It's not super thick. So almost anybody with almost any size hands is going to find this thing quite comfortable, unless you've got really large hands, like extra large, big, beefy hands. Because mine are just shy, just right. Well, sometimes I've got to buy extra large gloves. Sometimes I buy large. It just depends on the way the manufacturer makes them. And that's between 10 or 11 in European glove sizes. So there's that. Now, this knife has, like I said, this color or black G10. And instead of doing the measurements right away, let me introduce its sibling to you. This is the 1158. It's got a very similar styling. This handle is larger, as you can see. So if we line it up at the end here, you know, then the knives are the same length. But as you can clearly see, this handle is longer, which means the blade is shorter. But it's the same basic blade shape, same basic handle shape, but this one's just a little bit bigger, a little bit higher, a little bit thicker, you know, and just, you know, bigger and beefier without being any longer. So if you like this basic styling, but you want a folding knife, consider this one, the 1158. So you can get this if you want to. The only place I've seen this right now is on AliExpress. But this knife is available from Knife Spot. That's the best price you can get. And I've got a referral link for Knife Spot. If you use my referral link, then I get a tiny bit of a commission off of the knives. Unfortunately, you don't get anything except for the best price I can find. So now let's talk a little bit more about the specifics here, because I forgot a couple things. We've got a rounded sharpness choil on this one. And you can see that the plunge comes down and then the end's right there at the end of the plunge. I really like sharpness choil. It makes it easy to sharpen the knife to the end without messing it up. Let's do the specs very soon, but there's a new thing that I'm starting with this knife on this video, I'm going to tell you what the sharpness rating is of the knife from the factory. And that is using that sharpening equipment that I got back in, not sharpening, the sharpness testing equipment that I got back in, I think in November, where I can test using scientific equipment how sharp the cutting edge is. And it gives me a number in pressure, in grams of pressure. So the number's not going to be any good for you on this video, but as we get more and more videos, I'll maintain a list as well, and you'll be able to compare knives to other knives and brands to different brands to see how well those factories tend to sharpen their knives. And this knife has got a sharpness rating of 180 grams, which is very good. Anything less than 200 is very sharp from the factory. So this thing's got, well, it's actually 220, but let's say 200. This has got a 180 gram rating, and that comes getting the average of 3 cuts. And I'll put a link to the video where I talk about the equipment that I use to test as well. So now that I've spoken about that, let's put the tape measure out here and talk about the rest of the measurements of on this knife here. We've got a cutting edge of 10.3 centimeters, that's 4.06 inches. We've got a blade length, so tip to the G10, of 9.9 centimeters, 3.92 inches. We've got a blade thickness of 3.1 millimeters, that's 0.122 inches. We've got a blade depth, and I measured just after there, just where this wedge starts. The blade depth is 2.3 centimeters, that's 0.9 of an inch. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is exactly half a millimeter, which is 0.0195, which is exactly the number that I like to have on knives of this type, using this type of steel and stuff. Half a millimeter thick right behind that grind is awesome. The grind angle of that final grind is very good, 19.8 degrees on this side and 19.2 degrees on that side. So whoever they've got at SanRenMu who sharpen these knives, they're doing a very good job. I like to get 8CR13 at about 20 degrees per side. So yeah, they're very, very close to that. And they're consistent, so it's a good sharpening job that they did. Very good compared to the average of the knives I've seen for budget manufacturers. Now on to the handle. The handle length is 11.6 centimeters. That's 4.57 inches. The handle thickness, it's a little bit thin. It's 1.1 centimeters. That's 0.433 of an inch. And usually knives like this are about half an inch or sometimes more with fixed blade knives. And the handle depth, that's this distance right here at this transition is the largest point, 2.4 centimeters, 0.95 of an inch. So yeah, less than an inch thick and less than half an inch thick. That's why it fits almost any hand you want. So if you're somebody with a smaller hand, or perhaps you're a woman and you want a larger blade, this is close, right? 4 inches of cutting edge. This might be a good knife for you. The handle grip distance here, and I measured it just from the inside of this spot to where the transition rounds off right here. Of course, there's more grip area on the spine than there is on the belly, and that's right around 9 centimeters, 3.5 inches of grip. And I forgot to convert it from centimeters to inches, so it'll be on the screen actually up here. The total length of this knife is 21.6 centimeters, which is in inches up here. The weight of the knife is 107 grams, which is 3 3/4 ounces. You add in the sheath, and now the weight is 154 grams, which is 5.45 ounces. So 5.5 ounces, well, less than 5.5 ounces, is the entire weight for this thing. So this is a good knife to take hiking, whatever you need. If you don't want to carry a lot of weight, but you want a good size knife, 4-inch blade, this is a really good choice. How much does this knife cost? How much is it going to set you back? Well, if you go to Knife Spot, you can get this thing for $24.90. So basically $25 US to get this knife, and they do free shipping. So there you go. The equivalent of that is about $33 Canadian. It's almost 22 euros, and it's almost 19 British pounds, a little bit less on both of those. And that just depends on the currency exchange rate fluctuations going on all the time. So special features of this knife, Well, there's nothing super special about this knife. It's just a very good all-round knife for somebody who wants something light and yet fairly durable. If you don't mind stainless steel on a fixed blade, then this is not a bad choice at all. It's a good budget choice. It looks good. It feels good in the hand. It's got, a full tang. It's pinned together with these hollow pins. You can put a lanyard back here if you want to. The sheath is a really good sheath for most kinds of uses. If you do find that you really are going to use this as a neck knife, you could, take these off. You just don't have an easy way of putting it back on. Just cut off the leather, and take that out. But yeah, it wouldn't be able to be put back on. And that's one of my bigger cons. I wish they'd make this reattachable, removable and reattachable. That would be very, very good. Some more of the pluses. I just like the general design, the general shape. It looks really good. The Sharpness choiled Spanish notch here, that's beautiful. The thumb riser with that jimping, awesome. Good grip, good holds on this knife. And, there's no big cons on here. The only con that I could find was, what I just mentioned about the sheath. Maybe I would like a genuine Kydex sheath, but on a knife that's $24.90, it's asking a lot to get a genuine Kydex sheath as well at that price range. And of course, you can get one made yourself if you really want that done. I wish they would make this, have another option, make another one of these with 14C28N Sandvik steel or D2 steel. That would be a really good idea. Now that Ganzo is starting to do D2 steel on their blades, SanRenMu, if you're listening, I want you to, get up there with Ganzo and make some knives with D2 steel, because in North America anyways, D2 is a knife steel that people just flock to. Be it for good reasons or bad reasons, it doesn't really matter. It is a steel that people love. So SanRenMu, if you start making some of these knives, D2 steel is a really good choice. There's some people that believe, no outdoor fixed blade knife should ever be made with stainless steel. Well, D2 is a carbon steel, so there you go. Albeit very, very close to being stainless, but it's a carbon steel. So that's a good choice. Well, I don't need to ramble on about that. Just take a look at this knife. It looks great. You got the choice of black if you want that. It's very useful, very functional. It's very stabby. I know Kid Bach, one of my regular viewers, loves it when I say stabby. It's, just a really good design. The blade thickness stays full thickness until right about there. Right where that right where that swedge ends, that's where the taper starts coming down to the tip. So it's not the strongest tip of a knife, so I remind you, don't be prying with your knife. The tip will probably break, but it's a really good, decent budget knife. So that's my review of the S758. So if you got any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I read all the questions. I read all the comments. I respond to most of them. And thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. You really help me out an awful lot. And to everyone, remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.